Every morning at 5:40 for 400 days, a man named Owen Marsh ties the same pair of running shoes in the dark. He doesn't stretch. He doesn't check his phone. He laces them, opens the door, and runs. This is what discipline actually looks like. Not a single dramatic decision, but 400 mornings nobody filmed. Marsh didn't start as a runner. At 31 he weighed 240 pounds and worked a desk job he'd held for 6 years. He'd tried to change before, a gym membership in January, a diet in March. Both lasted under 3 weeks. By his own count, he'd quit on himself 11 separate times in 4 years. Each attempt followed the same shape: high motivation for 10 to 14 days, a missed day, a guilty week, then silence. The 12th attempt looked almost identical to the first 11. Same alarm, same shoes, same resistance pressing against the inside of his chest at 5:39 each morning. What changed wasn't his motivation. Motivation, it turns out, was never the variable that mattered. On day 1, Marsh ran for 4 minutes before stopping to walk. On day 14, he could run for 11. On day 40, the day most people quit, he almost did. He has the notes from that week, written in a cheap spiral notebook he still keeps in a drawer. They say, in his handwriting, "This isn't working, I don't feel different." He ran anyway. He didn't run because he felt motivated. He ran because 4 days earlier he had decided that whether he felt like it was no longer part of the decision. This is the part most habit advice skips. The feeling of progress and the fact of progress arrive on different schedules. The body adapts in weeks. Resting heart rate drops, breathing steadies, the first mile stops being the worst part of the day. The belief that it's working arrives months later, if it arrives at all. Most people quit in the gap between the two. They stop just before the evidence catches up to the effort. By day 60, Marsh had lost 11 pounds. He didn't notice. His co-workers did. By day 80, his resting heart rate had dropped from the low 80s into the 60s. He found out only because a routine checkup flagged it as a positive change. The data was moving long before his sense of the data was. By day 100, something had shifted, but not the thing he expected. He hadn't become a person who loves running. He still doesn't, most mornings. He'd become a person for whom running was no longer a decision. The shoes went on the same way teeth get brushed, without negotiation, without a vote taken each day on whether it was worth it. 3 questions remained unanswered, and they're the same 3 questions in every habit study on record. How long until a behavior becomes automatic? How much does identity have to change first, and whether the change holds once the streak eventually breaks? Day 212, it broke. A torn ligament, the result of an awkward step on a wet curb, nothing dramatic. 6 weeks off, doctor's orders. Marsh assumed this was the end of it, the way day 40 had almost been the end of it. It wasn't. He returned to the same shoes, the same time, the same door. On the first morning he was cleared to walk, not run. Walk. The behavior had outlasted the streak. The number resets. The pattern didn't. This is the detail almost no habit story includes, because it isn't dramatic enough to be the climax. The injury should have been the test. It wasn't, because the test had already happened quietly, around day 40, in a kitchen, at 5:40 in the morning, with a notebook that said this isn't working. Everything after that was just repetition of a decision already made. By day 300, Marsh's routine had expanded without him deciding to expand it. He started going to bed earlier, not from willpower but because his body now expected to be up at 5:40 regardless of what time he fell asleep. He stopped buying food he wouldn't want to eat before a run. None of these were separate disciplines. They were downstream of the first one, arriving the way weather arrives after a pressure system moves in, not chosen, just caused. At day 400, Marsh ran a marathon. It is not the part of the story he talks about most when people ask him. Strangers tend to want the marathon. They want the finish line, the medal, the number on the bib. Marsh tends to bring up day 40 instead, the version of the story with no finish line in it at all, just a man in a kitchen, lacing up shoes he didn't believe in yet. There's a version of this story that ends at the marathon. That version is comfortable. It has a beginning, a struggle, and a finish line, and it lets the listener close the file and feel that something has been resolved. But Marsh is still running. He ran this morning, before sunrise, the 401st day of a streak that technically no longer has a number attached to it, because at some point he stopped counting. Nobody is filming it. There is no day 401 video. There's just a man, the same shoes, and a door that opens the same way it did on day 1, except now there's nothing left to decide each time he reaches for the handle.